What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have something kind of fun. This is a pen that I think a lot of people are excited about when they first get it. This is a Lamy, and I think for a lot of folks this might be their first gold nib pen. This is kind of, I don't want to say a grail pen, but it's one of those pens that people are like, yeah, this is next level, man. It's time to get one of these. Well, you know, I kind of put it off. And I'd never actually even written with one. And we were up at the Atlas Stationers in Chicago at the physical location there. You know, they've got a website. I'll link it down below. But we were physically there and we were buying a bunch of paper and ink and stuff, and we were having a bunch of fun. And just before we left, I said, you know, let me try a Lamy 2000. And as soon as the nib hit the paper, because when you go physically into their location, they'll let you try all kinds of stuff. It's really a neat place to shop. And I'm sold. I've bought a bunch of stuff from them online and had them shipped to me and, you know, that stuff. But to go experience it in person was really, really fun. They were so welcoming and cool. And, you know, they didn't know I have a YouTube channel or anything. It was just cool. They were just really, really cool. So anyway, this is the Lamy 2000, and this is one of those pens that is just, you know, it's so basic looking that you might think, why? And that's what I thought. That's why I thought, you know, I don't really care. And to be honest with you, and we'll do a comparison video about it, I also have this Montblanc 220. Which is kind of a competitor back in the 60s. So this is actually a vintage one. This is from the 60s. We have a full review on this pen. I think this is a 66. If I'm not mistaken, the Lamy 2000 came out in 1965, or somewhere right around there, and it was really ahead of its time. And what's interesting about it is 50 years later, or however long, it still looks amazing. It's still like demands a design, you know, design recognition. You know, it's kind of timeless. It's made of Macrolon, which is some sort of plastic that's got like a brushed finish on it, which is really, really cool. And it's a piston filler. And what you cannot see is the machining is so well done that you can't see where the piston knob starts and ends right here. There's a little, if I can maybe get a macro lens and show you, maybe not. But let me see if I can show you here. Oh, there it is. See, I just broke just kind of backed it off a minute. See there? The pen's inked, so I don't want to mess with it too much, but that's where it's at. So if you close it up, you can't even tell it's there. I mean, the machining is just so good. It's just, from end to end here, you just see it's just super basic. It's got this little silver dot on the end. The clip is actually really nice, super springy. I actually used it yesterday and I had it clipped into a sport coat, which is really cool. The clipping mechanism is like really nice. It's got this little noise that's just so cool. And what facilitates that, if we take the clip off, is there is inside there's a metal clip and internal cap thing to keep the nib wet, and it clips on these little kind of nubs right here. There's a little clip ring that goes in here. The section actually screws off right here. I don't want to do it right now, obviously, because it's inked, but you can unscrew the pen right here. And this section comes off, and there's this little, you don't want to lose it, but there's this little metal clip thing that goes in here, and that's part of the cap retention. And then here is the ink window. See that little, can barely see it right there because there's ink in the pen. Now, if the pen is empty, you can kind of see light through it. So it's just super discreet almost. Like you would just absolutely, I don't know. It's just a weird thing because as cool as it is, it's so basic. It's got like a stainless section here. The nib fills really nice. The pen fills really easily. Now this is a gold nib, and see how it's hooded like that? Super, super interesting. Super interesting nib. When you cap the pen, or when you post the pen's so light, the cap is so light that you don't even notice that it's there. In fact, you know what? Let me grab the scale and let's weigh this thing. You'll have to excuse the coffee grounds because this is my coffee scale. So the pen is 26 grams. The cap is 8 grams. The pen, and this is full of ink, is 17.5 grams. Now what's interesting about this pen too, for folks who aren't fountain pen people, is that it is completely round and there's no kind of defined section. You know, there's a lot of fountain pens. If we get like a traditional fountain pen, let me grab something that you would think of as a traditional fountain pen. So here's my Edison Premier in Cappuccino. And when you unscrew this, you know, it's got this kind of tapered section here and your hands just kind of fit right in there and it keeps it off, keeps your hand off of the nib. This is just sort of, you know, what you think of when you think of a conventional fountain pen design, where this almost really reminds you of a normal, like a ballpoint or a roller ball sort of geometry, right? So I think it's so neat that it feels like a normal pen. So if you are new to fountain pens, if you, you know, and are trying to next level, but you're still getting used to everything, this might be an option for you. Now, one of the things I want to show you though, let's get this thing on some paper. All right, so this is the Lamy 2000. This has Pilot Iroshizuka Konpeki in it because this is going to kind of be one of my daily writer pens, and I just wanted something, you know, pretty basic in the pen so that I could just use it for most stuff. This actually is a medium nib because I wanted something that was real smooth. Lamy nibs are super smooth in a medium, and I knew that, and I try to fine too, but I decided to get the medium. Now, a lot of folks would look at this pen and there's a lot of kind of, I don't want to say hype, but there's a lot of talk and maybe chatter on the internet about how these have some sort of like, I don't know if you want to say like a sweet spot that they're supposed to write in, and some people don't get used to writing with them. I disagree. I think that it writes like a normal fountain pen. And I'm left-handed, so, you know, you could say, well, you have looked really abnormal, okay? But I've written with a bunch of fountain pens now, and I will say that I don't think it has a real sweet spot. When you write with it, nib square to the page, it is fine. I can't spell. I can never spell when I'm doing videos. It's weird. I think what's interesting, and I don't necessarily think there's a sweet spot, but I think what happens is because the nib is hooded, you see so much less of it, and the end of it is so round. If you look at this, let me see if I can get this to focus. The nib is round, okay? And when you're writing with it, it's harder to perceive if you're turning the pen because you don't see as much of the nib. I think that's really what it is. There is the normal amount of sweet spot, okay, that any nib has. But I think because you see so much less of the nib, let's grab this Edison and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now this Edison doesn't have any ink in it, but when you see that much of the nib, it's very easy to make the reference about how you're supposed to hold the pen, right? Like it's all there, so you can see it, and it makes total sense. But I think when you go and hide this much of it, and only this much is showing, and it's way more curved. Like this nib is actually pretty flat. If let's say you were to like completely block most of this nib, by the time you get down to here, it's pretty flat, right? But if you look at this nib, it's super round. And so it's just real easy, especially against white paper, to lose that perception of where that spot is. So I don't necessarily think there's a sweet spot. I just think it just references differently. But it writes really nice. I love it. I think it's awesome. I'm experimenting with colors still, but I think it's going to have Konpeki in it. I think that's going to be the one. Yeah, this is a really killer pen. So the only reason I bring all that up is just to say, if you have sort of put off writing with or trying or buying the Lamy 2000, don't. It is completely worth what it costs. And it writes so well. And it is such an easy pen to live with. Granted, I've only had it for 3 or 4 days, but it's all I've been using pretty much. It is just so easy to live with. And as long as you hold it straight, like any other fountain pen, there's no sweet spot. It's just great. I want another one. I want another one in a fine. I want both a medium and a fine. And I know that sounds dumb because you can't get it in a different color really. Well, you can get the stainless one, but I don't want the stainless one. So you'd end up having an identical looking pen because they don't come in multiple colors with just a different nib size, but that's what I want. I want to get a fine too because I just think they're both cool. So anyway, there you go. There is the Lamy 2000 in medium. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it took away some trepidation possibly for wanting to purchase one. I will leave a link to the Atlas Stationers website down below where you can purchase one. I do not currently have any sort of affiliate links or anything with them, but I will tell you, I really like their store and I would recommend getting it from them. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you in the next video.